Hey, good day, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Whenever you're checking this out, this is Mr. Eaton getting ready to do a Fundamentals of Theory number 3 packet review. So, without further ado, let's jump right into it. If I'm going over any of these concepts too quickly and you want to review specific somethings with me, please feel free to message me in Teams or shoot me an email, deaton@phoenixunion.org. Here we go. All right, circle the following triads of root position. For root position, as you recall, we are doing line, 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 or space, space, space. If it's doing anything besides that, that is not in root position. So you're looking for line, 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 or space, space, space. All right, now we're going to talk about major triads specifically. Major triad has 4 half steps from the bottom note to the middle note, 3 half steps from the middle note to the top note. This will be on the exam. Okay, so what it's talking about here, let's use this first one, this A flat triad as an example. A flat, C, E flat. Let's get our piano up here. So we're looking at A flat, C, and E flat. And all it's saying is that there is let me be real specific about what it's saying. 4 half steps, that's right. 4 half steps from the bottom note to the middle note, and 3 half steps from the middle note to the top note. So all that's saying is 1 half step, 2 half step, 3 half step, 4 half steps to get to here, and then 1, 2, 3 half steps. That's all that that's talking about there is the intervals or the number of half steps between those intervals. Okay. So if it's asking you to make a major triad, for example, right here, let's do with with this A triad. So we've got an A, and we've got a third up from that is a C, a fifth up from that is there. To make sure that it's major, I've got to make sure that A to C is 4 half-step jumps, and you will find out right now that that is not the case. So again, with everything being natural, that's what I just wrote down. Now we're going to make sure that this is either right or if I need to make a modification. 1, 2, 3, it's supposed to be this, so I've got to make it C sharp, and then again, 1, 2, 3. So my E is correct. I just have to change that C to a C sharp here if I were to be doing this. Oops, select my red pen again, and that's how you figure that out. Okay, so that's what you're going to be doing. You'll probably get a triad, and it'll ask, is this major or not? So you would use that method to figure it out. All right, inversions. This chart is going to be very handy because this is what a root position looks like. This is what a first inversion looks like. So all you're essentially doing is taking the root of this and moving it up to the top here. So this C is now going to just pop up an octave here, and this is now one of those instances, before where I said this wasn't in root position. Well, this is actually what it is. It's called an inverted triad. Okay. So whenever you see something like this, this is what the first inversion looks like. Again, you've got either a space, space, then it jumps up to a line, or maybe it's a line, line, going to a space, that sort of thing. But essentially, you're just taking, again, the bottom one and moving it up the octave. That's how you do a first inversion. All right, because there's 3 notes in a triad, and each one can be the bottom note of the triad, there's also a second inversion. So again, here is the chart. Again, first inversion, I move this C up to the top. Now I'm going to move this E up to the top. So now I've got that bigger interval on the bottom here where I've got line jumping up to space, space. It's just some type of inversion of a root position triad. Okay, so memorize that chart. That's what the first and second inversions look like. This one obviously based on C. Okay, all right. When triads are inverted, the root of the triad will always be the top note of the big space. Okay, so again, this is not the greatest way, I don't think, of how to describe it. My method for doing this, let me pick one. Let's pick this one right here, nice and easy. So we're in treble clef. We've got a G, a C, and an E. In this instance, I'm going to take my oddball note and I'm going to move it up an octave just to see if I get a nice, pretty stack. And in this case, yes, I do. If I move that G up an octave, now I've got a space, space, space. In that case, I know that my bottom note is my root, so this is the C is the root of that particular inverted triad. Let me do another one. Let's do this one right here. Okay. My oddball is the A flat. I'm going to move it down an octave, and what do you know? I've got line, line, line now. Okay, and now again, the bottom note of that triad, line, 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 it's going to be A flat. So A flat is actually the triad there. This one kind of gives you the same way, but I think it's easier to see it on the staff, because obviously if you're trying to remember like the top node of the big space, that's hard to remember. But if you know that I'm just going to move stuff around octave-wise, it's very easy to figure it out from there. Okay, this is an eighth note triplet. All three notes are divided equally among one count. So again, each one of those, each one of these individual notes here are all worth 1/3 of a beat. We've talked about stuff being 1/2 of a beat, 1/4 of a beat, 2 beats, that sort of thing. We haven't really talked about the threes. That's what triplets are. Okay. How do you count those? 1 and up. Okay. All right. Complete the following measures. I think this is just more counting. We do not have to write in the counts. What I think writing in the counts when you're trying to fill in notes makes it a lot easier, but whatever. All right. Key signature. This is talking about more, about what it is. Must be placed on a certain line or space for that letter of the musical alphabet. Again, I'd read this information, fill in those blanks, as it probably will ask you questions based on this information. Okay, again, more information here. Read through it, pause the screen, so that way you can kind of get a nice review of this. Okay. All right, the order of flats. Bead GCF, or bead go catch fish, I think is the, that's the order of flats. And all that means is, again, if you look at this chart down here, and then you look at this line of, alphas right here, B, the new one is E, the new one is A flat, the new one is D flat, G flat, C flat, and F. It's just the order of flats as it progressively gets from 1 flat to 7 flats. That's all that this is. Helpful for when you're writing out key signatures, but that's what it is, okay? All right, the order of sharps is the same thing but backwards, as you can see. Bead, G, C, F. It's literally backwards from the order of flats. And again, we're going, from 1 sharp to your most amount, which is 7 sharps. F sharp, new sharp is C sharp, then G sharp, D sharp, A sharp, E sharp, and B sharp. Again, going from 1 sharp to 7 sharps. It's just the order of sharps. So when you're making it, you make sure that you're putting it in the proper order, so that way you know what key that it's in. Okay. Okay, moving it on. So now we're talking about how to figure out what the key signature is just based on seeing the key signature. Okay. The one for flats, it's the next to last, or the most recent flat. So in this case, let's see if we got one here. Let's see if I can get this down just enough to where I won't give away the answer. Okay, good. I didn't do these. So let's use this one as an example, and then I'll do this one for bass clef. So in this instance, I've got 5 flats. I'm going to go to my next to last flat. My key signature is D flat major. Let's look at this one. I've got 6 flats. This is my most recent one. I'm going to go back 1, G flat major. That's my key signature for that. The flats are super easy because it's literally just going back 1. This is C flat major, and this is E flat major, and this is, let's see if we can find another one, A flat major. Okay. The only one that you have to memorize is this one, because you can't go back to anything, right? So 1 flat, F major. I think we covered that literally in theory 1, so hopefully you know that by now. Okay, for sharps, process is a little bit more involved, but you're going to go to the last sharp and you're going to go up a half step. Okay, so as you can see, for D major, C sharp, go up a half step. What's the next half step above C sharp? D. What's the next half step? Oh my goodness. What is the next half step above A sharp? B. That would be B major for this. Okay, so a little bit more kind of figuring that you have to do with this, but it's not too bad. So let's do this one for treble, and let's do this one for bass clef. So my last sharp added is D sharp. What comes after D sharp? Half step above that? E. That is E major. Okay, let's do this one now. This one is G sharp. Remember, we're in bass clef. What's a half step above G sharp? That's going to be A major. Okay, sorry for my poor half or whole note writing right there, but we're trying to do this quickly. Okay, so that's the method for doing that with sharps. All right, so now you're going to put all that practice in here. You're going to see the key signature, and you're going to tell me what it is. Real quick, I can see that this is, my last sharp is B sharp. What's a half step above B sharp? So remembering this too, let me actually cover this real quick. When you get to those 6 and 7 sharp ones, B sharp, that's B natural. B sharp is technically C natural, but if I'm going to go a half step above B sharp, right, that is actually going to be C sharp for C sharp major. So again, when you encounter that like B sharp and E sharp, it can get a little bit tricky, but it's not so bad. But you know, you only have to do that for 2 of the key signatures. Otherwise, you know, flats. G flat's my last one. I go back one. That's D flat major. The flats are easy. Okay. Okay. Now we're actually drawing them. We don't need to review that. Remember the order, there it is, bead, go catch fish, literally backwards, bead, go catch fish. You have to remember that the key signature with 1 flat is F major, and the key signature with no sharps and no flats is C major. Again, we reviewed that in theory 1, should be a piece of cake, okay? All right, so now we've got more information to review, read through this stuff, make sure you understand what it's asking you or what it's describing to you. This is asking, you know, what accidentals are within C sharp major? Well, they're sharps. So what accidentals are in A flat major? Flats. What accidentals are in D major? Sharps. So just knowing what that is, pretty easy to figure out if you're comfortable with your key signatures. All right. Now it's asking you to figure out like how many sharps are within each one of these. I think this is kind of, it's sort of good to know this, but I mean, in practical application, you're literally going to see something like this and have to figure it out. You're never going to be, you know, tasked with knowing how many sharps are in the key of G major. You know, I mean, you'll eventually start to know that over time, but there is a method for figuring it out right here. You can read through it if you want to do that. I don't think there's that many, if any, of those questions on the final, so I wouldn't really stress about that one too much. All right, so now it's again just constructing the, you know, key signatures based on this. E major, how do I figure that out? Well, half step down from that is D sharp. D sharp is my, excuse me, my 4th one in my line right here, so I know that it's 4 sharps. That's the way to figure it out. And same type of process for the flats. Let me find one that's flat here. Do I have a flat one in here? I do not. I think those are all sharp key signatures. Maybe it does that on the next page for flats. Okay, so yeah, same idea here. I'm going to figure this out. E flat. So that's, you know, if I know that I have E flat, that means that that's the second to last flat. I know my next one's A flat. So, you know, this is A flat right there. I know that there are 3 flats in this particular key signature for E flat major, right? Okay. Boom. So that's how you figure it out for the flats. All right. Draw sharps or flats in the correct places. We've already reviewed how to do that. Name these key signatures. You've already done that. All right. Now we're talking about specific major or perfect intervals here. I would definitely pause the screen, read through this to make sure you're comfortable with it. Here's how you actually do it here. Again, you're looking for the ballpark interval. So in this instance right here, let's do this one. This is my 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. So this is going to be some type of 6th. Now I just need to figure out whether it's in the key signature. So G major has 1 sharp in it. It's F sharp. That E natural is within the key signature. So that means that that's going to be a major 6th. That's how I figured that out. Okay. Let me see if there's another one to figure this out. To give you a good example, this does not apply. I think it's just doing perfect and major, so we don't have any weird minor ones here. So let's check this one out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to be some type of 5th, and as it displays up above, the 1st, 4th, 5th, and octaves are perfect. 1, 4, 5, and 8, those are perfect intervals. Everything else is major or minor intervals, but it's just talking about the major ones, at least for this screen. Okay. Okay. Name these notes. We're talking about ledger lines, both top and bottom. This should be review. Piece of cake. All right. Interval is the distance between 2 notes. Just reviewing that. And now it's talking about the difference between major and minor intervals. So in this example, a C going to an A. This is part of the major key signature right here. If I made it flat now, it's part of the minor key signature. So you just do a lowercase m for that minor 6th. Okay? And this is where it's actually doing that information right now. So let's do it with this interval. D going to B flat. D major I know has 2 sharps in it, so the fact that this has a flat probably means that it doesn't belong in the major key signature, but let's do it anyway. Yeah, again, 2 sharps, everything is natural. That is definitely a minor 6th. Let's do G to F. Now one that's not quite so obvious. So I know that G major has one sharp in it. That sharp happens to be F sharp. That's an F natural, so this is a minor seventh. Again, I'm just thinking about my major key signature and whether that top note is either in the major key signature, and if it's not, that means that it's minor. It's in the other option, okay? All right. Write the letter name of the accidental in the following groups of notes. Include the accidental symbol with the name. Okay, so this is just asking you to identify what it is. As a quick reminder, make sure when you see close intervals like this, as you can see, that line is clearly going to the middle of that sharp. So that means that it belongs to that note that is also on the same line. So again, it's worth the extra couple of seconds to just look at it and make sure that that's what, you know, which one that accidental applies to. Take the extra 2 seconds, it's worth it. All right. Writing counts, primary and secondary accents. We've already reviewed that. We don't need to talk about that. All right. Major and minor. What is this talking about? Relative minor keys. So figuring out the relative minor. Again, you're just going down to the 6th degree or down a minor third. That's what it's asking you to do here. So 3 flats is E flat major. I go down a third. E flat D C. That's in C minor. Let's do one that's over here. Let's do this one. Okay, so 6 flats. That's G flat major. I'm going to go down. Let's do it up here so it's a little bit more obvious. G flat, F, E flat. So that is E flat. Kind of an interesting looking E, but yeah, E flat minor. That's how you figure that out. It's literally just going down a third. Piece of cake. Okay. All right, minor scales can be built in each minor key. Write the note of the same letter name as the key, and then the note on each line and space until you reach the key name. Again, minor scales, like major scales, are also diatonic scales. So again, you're just trying to figure out your major and your, well, you're trying to figure out your minor scale based on your major. So in this one, I know this is B flat major. I go down to G, and there's my G minor scale. This one is D major. I'm going to go down a third. So now I know that this is going to be B minor. And I do my B minor scale, etc., etc. Okay, here is the minor scale pattern: whole half, whole half, whole. It's okay if you want to memorize that. I think if you know the major one, you can kind of figure stuff out from there. But it's you know, it's, if you want to memorize that, go for it. All right, natural minor scale. This is the thing that took up so much time because there's lots of different types of minor scales. So minor scale, we talked about that up here. Now we're talking about the harmonic minor scale, where the 7th is raised a half step. So we have this 1.5 step jump between, in this instance, E going to F sharp. Big interval here, right? So, or excuse me, E flat to F sharp. I'm sorry, we're in G minor. So it's just taking that 7th scale degree and raising it up a half step. So in this case, we're in B minor. I'm going to raise my A up a half step. F minor. I'm going to raise this. Now, normally it's E flat, so I'm going to make this natural. That's what a F harmonic scale looks like. This is what a B harmonic minor scale looks like. It's literally the 7th note, you raise it a half step. Okay? Okay, practicing that. Last kind of minor scale is melodic minor. This is again where the 6th and the 7th degrees are raised on the way up, and then they go back to being natural minor on the way back down. So whenever you see a big scale like this, where the 6th and the 7ths are modified, that's melodic minor scale. Okay, now you're constructing and practicing that piece of cake. All right, so now we are just going and doing the different types of scales here. Again, this is just practice, determining whether it's harmonic minor and writing the whole step and half step patterns here. So when you're looking at stuff like this, you know, this looks like there's no modifications to it. That looks like a regular old D minor scale. This one also doesn't look like there's any modifications to it. So again, another regular E minor scale. This one is being modified on the 6th and 7th scale degrees. 6th and 7th tell me that that's melodic. This one, it's just the 7th. So that's going to be a harmonic minor scale. So hopefully you can remember what those things are so you can recall that and get that right on the test. Okay, so same principle here where you're just looking at, you know, the number is the interval. That's the first one I would look at. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That'd be your bottom number. And then determining whether E natural is within F sharp major. So F sharp major, I believe, has 6 sharps in it. And I believe it is supposed to be E sharp would be major, so this looks like it would be a minor 7th. Okay, figuring to do with that stuff, but it is possible to do, again, as long as you know your scales. All right, parallel minor keys. Okay, so now we're talking about, again, you know, D major versus D minor, B flat major versus B flat minor. Just recognizing the differences because it's the same alpha, but obviously the key signatures are massively different, okay? All right, more half-step recognizing. It looks like this is practice for figuring out major triads and building them. Remember that it's 4 half steps from the bottom note to the middle note and 3 half steps from the middle note to the top note. This one's literally asking whether the chords are major or minor. Again, you're looking at whether that first interval right there is a major or a minor third. If it's in the major key signature, obviously it's major. If it's not the major one, that can only mean that it's minor, so those are pretty easy to figure out there. All right, I think we're on the last page. Yes, we are. Page 28, adding the natural accents and writing the counts in. That's all review. We shouldn't need to do that. Building some major triads looks like it's here's the major one, and then you're making it minor right next to it. So that should be pretty easy to do. Okay. All right, that officially concludes the end of the Fundamentals of Theory packet number 3 review. Again, I flew through this stuff super fast, assuming that you have done this packet and that you are kind of aware of these concepts. But if I still went over stuff a little bit too fast, please message me. Please hit me up in Teams or send me an email. I'll be more than happy to go over this individually with you if you need it. Otherwise, best of luck on your upcoming theory test. Thanks a lot. Good luck. Bye-bye.